What is up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the iPhone X. So I went ahead and installed iOS 14 on this device, and I've been really impressed with the slight speed boost that this phone has gotten. So what I love about this phone is that you can pick it up for $400 and it competes with the iPhone XR and the iPhone SE 2020 that was just released. I prefer this phone over those two, mostly because of the OLED display on here, which those two phones lack at the same price point, which I think is really important if you're just really into display quality and stuff like that, like me. Now, looking at the body of the iPhone X, it has a way more premium design than the SE 2020 and the XR. That one has a plastic design. This one has a glass and metal design. As you can see, dual camera setup. We also have the power button over here, which I love how big it is. Volume rockers and your mute switch. Of course, you have the stereo speakers at the bottom. And yeah, so I just really like the feel of this phone. So you have that 5.8-inch OLED display on here. It's a 720p plus display, 548 for the PPI. It gets fairly bright as well, which is something that I really like about this phone. So the main benefits with this OLED display is definitely just the colors. Blacks are really deep. Everything is more vibrant. So I usually, or everyone pretty much prefers OLED or AMOLED display over most IPS displays these days. Is a very small percentage of people who don't. Now, the only thing with these OLED or AMOLED displays, sometimes you'll see them on eBay having like a screen burn problem. You won't find that on an IPS display, so that's definitely a benefit to those phones. But definitely when it comes to display quality, I've always really liked these OLED phones over the IPS ones. Now, like I said, you get iOS 14 on here. It's running the Apple A11 Bionic chip. You have 64 gigs of internal storage, 3 gigs of RAM, no SD card support, of course. And this phone has definitely, been a little bit more snappier since the update, which is something that I love. As you can see, you do have the widgets implemented. So if you want to see me go over all of the iOS 14 features, be sure to watch my video that I did. And yeah, it's just super snappy when you're just bouncing in and out of applications, whether it's multitasking. Everything is just super bouncy on here, and you can have as many widgets as you want, and you won't notice little to any lag on this phone. I don't see any animation stutters on this phone at all since running it. It has been a really smooth experience. Now, when I was on iOS 13, you would notice little animation stutters here and there, but it has made this phone a super snappy phone, which is something that I really love. Also, with an OLED display, dark mode is going to look really good because it's actually going to be really black compared to on an IPS display. It's not going to look as good. And also, you can save battery life. So if I have this in dark mode and have most of my apps in dark mode, I use a black wallpaper, you can definitely squeeze a little bit more battery life. So that is a tip for those who don't know that. A lot of people don't talk about how great these stereo speakers are on the iPhone. So if I go ahead, put it to max volume, go ahead, play something for you. So there's little to no distortion on this phone as well, which is really nice at max volume. And as you can hear, there is a ton of bass presence as well, which is really nice. So they're very loud, very crisp and clear. Mids and highs are really good. Overall, just a really great speaker. So it doesn't matter if you're listening to music out loud or whether you're gaming. The speakers on here are really nice. Now, this phone is still great for gaming. As you can see, we're in Call of Duty Mobile, and this really goes for any game, PUBG as well, Fortnite when it gets back in the store. But as you can see, you're able to play games extremely smooth on here at very high settings. And again, I like the look of the OLED display. I think it looks really good color-wise. So again, I'm not a huge fan of the notch on here, but most iPhone users don't really care. and it looks like Apple will not be getting rid of their notch with the latest iPhone 12 from what we're seeing from the leak. So we're gonna be seeing the notch for a very long time. Anyway, so the design on here is still not gonna be dated at all. Oh, but as you can see, super fast when you're gaming. Screen looks beautiful. One of my favorite things about this phone. Still very capable. So I know people are gonna ask, this phone is going to have a pretty long lifespan. I can see this getting, obviously it's gonna get iOS 15, if not 16 and 17. So I think it still has about 3 years of support on it, which is really awesome. So this is a phone that you can buy and know that you're going to get security updates in the latest version of the OS as well. Alright, so let's talk about the cameras. You have a 12 megapixel main shooter and a 12 megapixel telephoto. So no ultra wide on here. You do have 4K video, 24, 30, or 60 FPS, and you have a 7 megapixel selfie camera on here that's used in 1080p. As you can see from the photos, the iPhone X still takes some excellent, very detailed, very punchy colors. Dynamic range is still pretty solid on here as well. And again, you're gonna like the detail to photos, especially when you put it on the computer. You're gonna notice that. So I was really pleased with how well the camera aged on here, and the selfie camera is still really great for selfies, as well as the video is still very acceptable for just vlogging if you want to do that, or FaceTime. These are still excellent cameras. So even though this is in older phone, this is still a really super solid camera on here. Now obviously the only way to get into this phone is Face ID. There's no Touch ID anymore, and it's still extremely fast on here. Now I don't think it's as fast as the iPhone 11. I think it's like a hair bit slower, but I don't think anybody would really notice. But it definitely is still super fast on here. So it usually works 100% of the time. I usually don't have any problems with it. This phone does have Bluetooth 5.0. You do have an IP rating on here, so you can get this phone wet no problem, and it won't break immediately. So let's go ahead and talk about battery life. So battery life, you get a 2716 milliamp battery, 15 watt fast charging, and you also get wireless charging as well. So basically this phone can last me a day, and it has really good standby time actually, but I usually don't have an issue getting through a full day with this phone, so that is not the issue. Now if you're gaming hard or just using this phone super hard, yes, you're going to have to charge this phone up, but I have pretty good battery. Well, let's actually check. I have pretty good battery health. I haven't checked it in a minute. Well, let's go ahead and do it right now. Yeah, so my battery health is still 91%, so you should be able to get through the whole day. If you're around that 90, I believe, to 85% mark or something like that, then you should get some super good battery life here. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. This is still a super solid phone. I prefer this one over the XR and the SE 2020. Just because you have that extra depth sensor, as well as the OLED display, the better design on here as well. So there's a ton of reasons to get this phone. I think it gets kind of ignored and forgotten about. So what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the